Hi friends, welcome to practice. Today's class is focused a lot on the legs. We'll be doing some lunges today. So if you like a blanket to place under your knees, just have a blanket somewhere nearby. And we're gonna start laying on our backs. So please come to lay down. Bend your knees, place your feet on the ground and bring your feet about as wide as the mat. You might knock your knees in towards each other to touch. Constructive rest. Rest your arms in whatever way feels best. Could be out to the side with palms up, which tends to be a little more opening feeling, or it could be somewhere on the torso with palms down, which tends to feel a little more grounding. If you find that your chin is much higher than your forehead as you lay down, you might place a blanket or a block under your head to act as a pillow. Let the eyes close or soften. And let's start by just bringing the attention down into the feet today. And feel the connection of your feet on the ground. Notice what they're touching and how they feel. Notice any qualities that are present. Maybe the feet feel cool or warm. And then start to bring the attention onto the breath. If it feels okay, find a steady breath here in and out of the nose rather than the mouth. As you breathe in, you might start to feel your belly and your ribs expand, sending the breath downward. As you exhale, you might feel the belly and the ribs draw back in towards center. So feel this sense of opening as you breathe in, and this sense of grounding as you breathe out. Take one more full breath in. And then as you exhale, draw your knees into your chest. Just hold the shins or the backs of the thighs. Give yourself a squeeze, a little rock side to side, massaging out the low back here. And now keep the right knee in towards your chest. Extend your left leg long on the mat. You're gonna hold the right shin. Draw your toes straight back towards your face. And as you hug the right knee in towards the right shoulder, notice how the left knee and thigh likes to bow up. See if you can press your left thigh into the mat. So the left leg is really just as active as the right. Keep the shoulders relaxed and the jaw relaxed. And just take a couple breaths here. Each inhale, maybe hug the right knee in towards the right shoulder a little more. Every exhale, press your left thigh down a little more. Take another full breath in. And then as you exhale, bring your left knee into the chest, hold the left shin and extend the right leg forward long on the mat. Draw your toes straight back towards your face. Draw the left knee in towards the left shoulder. Sometimes it likes to sway to the center of the chest. Try to keep it in towards the left side. And then notice if your right knee and thigh is bowing up. That tends to happen. Press your right thigh down. I like to imagine that a giant puppy was resting on my right thigh because that would make me happy right now. So a couple more breaths. Draw the left knee in towards the left shoulder as you breathe in. Press the right thigh down as you exhale. And then try to relax the shoulders and the belly and the jaw. Take another full breath in. And then as you exhale, bring your right knee in towards your chest, hold the shins. And now notice how as you pull your knees in towards your chest, your tailbone curls up, your low back is flat to the mat. Start to press your knees forward, so your arms straighten. Press the knees forward and then feel how your low back lifts away from the floor, your belly kind of puffs out. Take a breath in. Exhale, bring your knees in towards your chest one more time and hold. So with your knees in towards your chest, it's easier to keep the low back as close to the mat as possible, your tailbone curled up. And this position is what we want to hold right now because it means that our core is a little more awake. And now from here, interlace your fingers behind the head, squeeze your elbows in so they point towards the ceiling. As you inhale, send the right leg forward at about a 45-degree angle. Exhale, bring the right knee into your chest. Inhale, send your left leg forward at that 45. Exhale, bring the left knee in. Inhale, send the right leg forward. Can you keep your low back connected to the mat? Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, send the left leg forward. Can you keep the low back connected to the mat? Exhale, bring it in. So if you find that your low back is lifting away from the floor, keep the legs a little higher. If you want to challenge yourself, then you send the legs a little lower, but the main thing is to keep the low back close to the mat. So now just start to cross your legs in space. Breathe in and out of the nose. And don't move too fast. Faster does not mean better, actually slower is usually harder. When we move slower, we often build more strength in the body. Keep the front ribs hugging in, low back as close to the mat as possible. And then from here, option to stay or curl your head, your shoulders off the mat. Lift as high as you can, and now I'm shaking. Squeeze the elbows in. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lay down, bring your knees into your chest, rock side to side a little bit. All right, roll onto one side of your body. Use your hands to prop yourself up. Come into a tabletop position on all fours. Bring your shoulders right over your wrists. Bring your hips over your knees. Gently spread out your fingers. As you inhale, curl your tailbone up. Drop the belly. Draw the heart forward and up. Arch your spine, cow pose. Exhale, curl your tailbone under. Lift the low belly away from the floor. Push the ground away from you. Round your spine, chin to chest, cat pose. Inhale, arch your spine. Tailbone curls up. Heart lifts, maybe the gaze comes forward. Exhale, round your spine. Rock your pelvis backwards. Lift the front ribs, maybe chin to chest. Let's do 2 more like that. Inhale, come into your cow pose. A back bend position, a position of extension in the spine. Exhale, round the spine, cat pose. Your spine is in flexion. Push the floor away from you. 1 more time. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. With your next inhale, come back to your tabletop. Walk your hands forward another 2 to 3 inches ahead of the shoulders. Look at your hands. Make sure they're really shoulder width apart for your body. Make sure your wrist creases are parallel to the top of the mat, and then notice which finger is facing forward. So for me, it's actually kind of in between the index and middle finger. For some people, it's that as well. For some people, it's just the index. So figure out what finger is pointing forward for you, and that's what you always want to be facing forward in tabletop, plank, and down dog. Now tuck your toes under, push the floor away from you, start to move the hips back and up. Lift the knees, press the chest back towards the thighs, relax the head, and keep a bend in your knees in down dog. Press into your entire hand, every knuckle, every fingertip, and push the floor away from you. Try to straighten your arms. Keep the knees bent, press the chest back to the thighs. Take another inhale here. Exhale, walk your feet to your hands. If your feet don't make it to your hands, you just walk your hands back and meet halfway. Bend your knees, bring your feet about hip distance apart, relax the head. And then bring your hands to your hips, keep a little bend in the knees, lead with your chest, come all the way to stand. Mountain pose, rest your arms by your sides. Palms forward, draw the shoulders back and down. Press into your feet, reach the crown of your head up. Inhale, reach your arms out and up. Exhale, tee your arms out to the side, bend your knees and fold forward so you're hinging at the hips. Bring your hands to your shins, reach your chest forward, slide your shoulders back. Plant your hands on the mat, bend your knees to help. Step your left leg to the back of the mat. Drop your back knee, untuck the toes. Now if the ground is far away, you can bring your hands on yoga blocks. Bring your hands to your hips, lift the torso, low lunge position. So in your lunge, make sure your feet are about hip distance apart, meaning if this right foot is too centered, my balance feels really tricky, so I inch it to the right and make sure your knee is over the ankle. With your hands on your hips, take your pelvis and rock it backwards, meaning do a cat tilt. Tuck your tailbone under, lift the front of the pelvis up, and then bring your hands to your front ribs. They oftentimes want to puff out, which isn't a bad thing, but that's not what we want here. Hug your front ribs in. And then from here, reach your arms forward and up towards the ceiling, palms face each other. Stay as you exhale, hug your front ribs in. Reach your arms as high as you can. Take another breath here. Exhale, lower your hands to the mat. Step the right leg back to tabletop. Move your knees back so your knees are a little behind the hips. Shift forward, shoulders over the wrist, not behind them. Tilt your pelvis backwards. Cat tilt in the lower body. Reach your chest forward. Notice I'm not here in a back bend. I'm also not here sinking into my shoulders and low back, but tailbone heavy, chest forward. Take a breath in. Exhale, bend your elbows, lower the pelvis first, then the belly, then the chest. Stretch your legs long and back. Reach your arms back by your sides, palms face down. Press down through your feet. Inhale, lift your head, your chest, your shoulders. Keep the gaze slightly down so the back of the neck is long. Now, if it's hard to roll the shoulders away from the floor, try taking a micro bend in your elbows and tense your fingertips, and then try to lift the shoulders away from the floor. Take another breath in. Exhale, place the hands by the low ribs, push up onto all fours, tabletop. And from your tabletop, step your left foot forward. Front knee over the ankle. Bring your hands to your hips, low lunge. Settle in, make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. Left knee over the ankle. Take your pelvis and rock it backwards. And if you're unsure of what that feels like, oftentimes what helps me is I'll bring my arms forward and I'll pretend I'm rounding my spine in tabletop. And that's when your pelvis tips backwards. And then keep that, hug your front ribs in, raise your arms to the sky. Lift the left hip up and off the left thigh. Press your back shin into the mat. Reach the arms higher as you breathe in. Exhale, lower your hands to the mat. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee, and step to the top of your mat, feet hip distance apart, fold over your legs. Take a little bend in your knees, bring hands to hips, lead with the chest, come all the way up. Arms by your sides, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up. Exhale, tee your arms out to the side. Bend your knees, hinge at the hips, not the waist. Hands to shins, chest forward, slide the shoulders back. Plant your hands, step the right leg back. Drop the back knee, untuck the back toes. Hands to your hips, low lunge. Set up your foundation. Your foundation is whatever's on the floor, so you might widen the stance. Make sure your left knee's over the ankle. Imagine you could hook your tailbone to your front heel. Cat tilt in the lower body. Hug your front ribs in, and then reach your arms forward and up. Arms are about shoulder width apart. If that feels too tight or tense in the shoulders, bring your arms wider. Try to turn your thumbs towards the wall behind you. Try to wrap your outer upper arms forward and in. Reach the arms higher. One more inhale. Exhale, hands down. Step your left knee back, tabletop. Move your knees behind the hips a couple of inches. Shift forward, shoulders over the wrist, pause. Push the floor away from you so you're not sinking through the chest. Tilt your pelvis backwards, posterior tilt of the pelvis, tailbone is heavy, low belly lifts. Take another breath in, chest forward, shoulders slide away from the ears. Exhale, bend your elbows, lower the pelvis, the belly, the chest. Reach your arms back by your sides, palms face down. Press down through your feet. Inhale, lift the head, the chest, the shoulders. Stay as you exhale, drop the chin slightly so the back of the neck is long. If it helps to tense your fingertips, take a little bend in the elbows, do so, roll the shoulders back. One more breath in. Place your hands by the low ribs as you exhale. Push up, all fours tabletop. Bring your knees under your hips and then step the right foot forward. Get your knee over your ankle, hands to your hips, low lunge. Set up your foundation. Do you need to widen your stance? Those are pretty much always the questions I ask first. Do I need to widen my stance? Do I need to lengthen it, walk the foot forward? Do I need to shorten it? Ideally, this front knee stays over the ankle. Drop your tailbone heavily. You can also imagine you're zipping up a tight pair of jeans, lift the pubic bone up towards the navel. And then inhale, reach your arms to the sky, palms face each other. Notice if your ribs are lifting Move the front ribs down towards the frontal hip bones. The more you do that, the more you're going to open the front of the left hip, the hip flexors, quadriceps, which is always a good thing. Reach the arms a little higher as you breathe in. Exhale, hands to the mat. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee, and step forward. Bend your knees, hands to hips. Inhale, come all the way to stand. Rest your arms by your sides. Tadasana, mountain pose. All right, we're gonna add on just a little more, adding a couple of high lunges. Sweep your arms out and up to the sky. Breathe in. Arms tee out to the side, bend your knees. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to shins, chest forward, shoulders back. Plant your hands on the ground. You can bend your knees, step your left leg to the back of the mat and pause. Now, one thing I always do, side note, is I slide my left foot back a little bit as you come into this lunge with your back knee up. Make sure your front knee's over the ankle. Make sure you're not on a tightrope. You might widen the stance. Make sure your back heel is over the ball of your back foot. So if that back foot is in too much, you can see my heel is behind the foot, so I have to slide it back. From here, bring your hands to your hips. If that feels too strong, you'll keep your hands down, maybe on blocks. And then from here, maybe come to a high lunge, lift the torso, bend your back knee a lot. Drop your tailbone, lift the pubic bone up towards the navel like you're zipping up a tight pair of jeans. Reach your arms forward and up, low lunge. Stay as you exhale, hug your front ribs in so you're not in a back bend. Ground through the right heel as you bend the front knee. Start to push the left thigh back. You can make the back leg a little straighter, but if it causes you to go into a big back bend, you went too far. Drop the tailbone. Final breath in. Exhale, hands down. Step to a plank, and then drop to your knees. Point the toes. Knees behind the hips. Chest forward. Make sure you're not in a big back bend. Tilt your pelvis backwards. Full breath in. Exhale, lower pelvis, belly, chest. Reach your arms back behind you, palms face down. Press into your feet, lift your head, chest, and shoulders. Press into every toenail. Notice if your feet are hovering. Keep the feet down and lift the kneecaps to engage the front of the legs. Take another breath here. Exhale, hands by the low ribs. Push up onto all fours. Tabletop. Bring your knees under your hips. Step your left foot forward. I'm going to center it a little bit. Tuck your back toes, straighten the back leg. Hands can always be on blocks. Set up your foundation. First, you need to widen your stance at all. Then is your front knee over your ankle. Then is your back heel over the ball of your back foot, or do you need to slide the foot back? Now feel free to stay here or bring hands to hips. Lift the torso, maybe little bend in the back knee. Drop your tailbone. Lift the front of the pelvis up. And then inhale, reach your arms up. Stay to exhale, hug the front ribs in. No back bend. Take another breath here. Start to push the right thigh back. Maybe make the back leg a little straighter, but keep your tailbone lengthening down. Last breath in. Exhale, hands down. Step to the top of the mat. Inhale, hands to shins. Reach your chest forward, shoulders back. Exhale, fold. Reach your arms out and up. Breathe in. Come all the way to stand. Exhale, arms by your sides. Last time. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up. Bend your knees, arms out to the side, fold forward. Hands to your shins, chest forward, shoulders back, breathe in. Plant your hands down, step the right leg back. Front knee over the ankle. Widen the stance as needed. Back heel over the ball of the back foot. You can take a peek back. Option to stay or hands to hips. Maybe come up to a high lunge. Bend the back knee. Inhale, arms up. Stay to exhale, hug the front ribs in. Drop the tailbone. Lift the pubic bone up towards the navel. Final inhale. Exhale, hands down. Step to a plank. Drop to your knees, point your toes. Tailbone heavy. Reach your chest forward. Create a long line from the crown of your head to your knees. Push the floor away from you. Take a breath in. Exhale, lower pelvis, belly, chest. Stretch the legs long and back. Reach your arms back by your sides, palms face down. Press into your feet. Inhale, low cobra, or locust, Lift your head, your chest, your shoulders. Roll the shoulders away from the floor. You can always take that little bend in the elbows or tense your fingers. One more inhale. Exhale, hands by the low ribs. Push straight up onto all fours. Come to your tabletop. Knees under the hips. Inhale here. Exhale, step right foot forward. If the foot sometimes doesn't want to come forward, you just kind of give it a scooch forward. I'm going to center it a little bit. Make sure the knee is over the ankle. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee, pause. Is your stance wide enough or is it too narrow? Because if it's too narrow, you're going to feel unstable. Is your back heel over the ball of the back foot? Is your foot too high up the mat? Then you need to slide it back. Feel free to stay with hands down. They can, of course, be on blocks, or one more high lunge, hands to hips. Little bend in the back knee as you come up so that you can take your pelvis. Think of doing a cat tilt. Rock the pelvis backwards. Inhale, arms up. Stay to exhale, hug the front ribs in. One more inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to the mat. Step your left foot forward. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. Bend your knees. Grab your elbows, ragdoll. Let your head drop. If it feels nice, just sway a little bit side to side. And then switch the crossing of your arms so that the other one is in front. You should only have to actually move one hand. Keep a bend in your knees. You can nod your head side to side or forwards and backwards. Bring your hands to the ground. Bend your knees so much that you come all the way down to a seated position. And then bring your feet to the ground. Come to lay down on your back. As you come onto your back, bring your feet about as wide as the mat. Make a cactus shape with your arms. Start to swish your knees side to side. And just kind of massaging out the low back. And then drop your knees to the right. And let's just hold a little twist. As your knees fall right, feel the ribs and the chest start to turn left, and your gaze can go in whatever way feels best. And then bring your knees back towards center, your hips back to center. Keep the feet nice and wide, drop the knees to the left, and as your knees go left, feel the ribs turn right. The gaze can go right or whatever way feels best. Relax the shoulders. And then bring your knees back towards center. Bring your knees into your chest. Reach your legs and arms up towards the ceiling. Have a little bend in your elbows and your knees. Curl your fingers in gently and just roll out the wrists and the ankles. We did a lot on our hands today. So just imagine you're drawing little circles on the ceiling, or if you're outside in the sky, and go the other direction. And then draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze and thank your body for all that it does for you each and every day. And this is where I will leave you, my friends. Bring your feet to the ground. If you'd like to take a little mini shavasana, I encourage you to stay a few breaths longer and just find some stillness on your mat. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Om Shanti. Peace.